and that we know how to do broccoli, and as we go into what we're doing.
Amen. Amen. All right. Well, let's get started. We're going to take a look at the focus of our Change Health segment today. And we're talking about broccoli, not just because it's cool and it's green and it tastes good, but we're going to think specifically about an enzyme that's in broccoli and other what are called cruciferous vegetables. Those are like basically green and bushy vegetables. All right. Now, inside of broccoli, there's this really cool enzyme, and it's called sulforaphane. Okay. Now that there are a lot of different enzymes, a lot of different names, and we're just gonna that's the only name we're gonna try to pronounce because the rest of them are big, but they're important. Inside of broccoli, there is this enzyme that works to actually detoxify our liver. Now, why is that important? Well, the reason why we're focusing on it today is because this enzyme that helps detoxify the liver, it also increases our body's power to resist and to suppress cancer. So it's anti-cancer and it's detoxifying. Now, here's the thing about the enzyme, though. The enzyme that is inside of the broccoli, which is good for us, that detoxifies our liver or helps the liver do its job. And our liver's job, if you kind of rub your tummy right here, Jael, right around here, that's where your liver is. Right above our navel and below our chest here. It's a big organ. Well, in order for this enzyme to work, the enzyme inside of here is only released when the broccoli is chewed. And that's pretty cool. So it's kind of like it's bottled up in there, but it doesn't release until you break it. If you've ever seen those, you know how they'll have like road hazard lights or flares, and how when you crack them, then they shine. Well, broccoli is kind of the same way. Like most foods, it only works when you break it open. Now, here's the thing. When you start to chew the broccoli, and that enzyme hooks up with another enzyme, starts with an M, together, when they're ingested and eaten, that's when the enzymes go inside of our tummy and they start, detoxifying and cleaning out our bodies, which also helps fight the cancer. But now here's the problem. The enzyme that's inside the broccoli, when you chew it, that other enzyme, that M enzyme, which we'll call it, when you cook your food, that kills it all. In other words, the heat kills the enzyme. So what we're going to try and show everybody how to do today are the two different ways that you can make the broccoli so that you can keep the good enzyme that helps detoxify your liver and helps your body fight cancer really, really well. Now, the two ways we're going to do it, and this is where I need your help, is showing how to prepare broccoli. Okay, so how we're going to prepare our broccoli now is you're just going to go and get a head of broccoli. We just happened to get this from the grocery store, and it was $1.50 a pound. So literally, a head this size is only $1. All right. So now you think about that. This is like a pound of broccoli, $1.50. If you were to eat one of these with every meal, or if you had one of these every time you had dinner this week, that's about $5 a week, $20 a month. Why do we say that? Think about how much money you spend on medication or how much money people spend on medicines. And if you take that and invest in this for a whole month, you're going to see a big difference because this is what the Lord made it for. Now, how do we make it? Well, what I'm first going to do is when you get a stock of broccoli from the grocery store, you want to go ahead and rinse it off. Because normally, broccoli, because of the way it is grown, it's not grown in a place that's really dusty. It's not like a collard green or other vegetable where you can have a lot of dirt or dust on it, which is good. So we're going to go ahead and rinse our stalk off. And now what we're going to do is cut the bottom of the stalk here. Okay, so now I'll go ahead and rinse my hands off. Okay, and so now we're going to cut the bottom of the stalk, and this is where I'm going to need your help, Jael. We're going to go ahead and cut this off right here. We're going to go ahead and leave that aside. Now I'm going to cut this right down the middle because we're going to show everybody two different ways that they can make the broccoli. And so what we're going to do is we're going to try and find a nice middle point, and we're going to go right down the middle. So now we have two heads. You're going to do one side, and I'm going to do another side. So I'm going to go ahead and give you that side, and we'll share together. Now, what Jael is going to be illustrating is how we can take the broccoli and prepare it for sauteing. Now, in order to do that, I want you to do your best. You see how you have these little trees inside? I want you to take your hands. I want you to just break those trees off and just get as many little trees on the side as you can, okay? So now while Jael is breaking off the trees, she's going to illustrate one way, and I'm going to start illustrating the other way. So you can start breaking that now while I'm talking. On the other hand, broccoli is a great vegetable, but it has a lot of fiber. In other words, it can be difficult, not just to chew sometimes, but it also can be difficult to digest. It doesn't mean it's bad, but because it's so fibrous, it could be tough for a lot of people. And that indigestion will tend to make people more gaseous because the body's trying to process it, and it can just be an uncomfortable experience. If that's your situation, we're going to show you two different ways to make it if that is your situation, where you may not have the ability to chew, or it may lead to some, disruption in your digestion, but you still want to get the good enzyme in you that allows you to detoxify and to help the liver. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do exactly what Jael is doing, which was great. Now I'm breaking up my trees. Jael has broken up her trees. Now we're going to prepare this two different ways. And the first way that we're going to try and do this is with the saute. Now with the saute, that's simply a matter of breaking up the broccoli, and you have here the stalk. I'm going to hold up the stalk for us to see. A lot of times people will get rid of the stalk and they say, oh, that's no good. It has no florid. This is the florid or the flower of the broccoli. One of the things you got to learn, especially when it comes to eating natural, every part of what is available to eat, you should eat. A lot of the enzyme and the enzymatic benefit is still here in the stalk. So we want to go ahead and we're going to chop this up too. This is a big knife, so I don't want you to cut yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and chop this one finely sliced, okay? And now notice we're chopping up the stalk, the floret, and even these little leaves here on the side. We want all that good green in there. So now when we go to saute this, we're going to go ahead and get our saucepan or our saute pan, and we're just going to simulate it here since we don't have a stovetop. We're going to simulate putting in a couple of pieces, or rather, not yet, babe, a couple of portions of oil. When I say a couple of portions, we're talking about maybe a couple of teaspoons or maybe a couple of tablespoons of oil. You can either use coconut oil or you can use an olive oil. These are what we suggest. Now we're going to focus on sauteing this for 3 to 4 minutes. 3 to 4 minutes. But we're not going to do any of this until we've let it sit. Now, why are we letting it sit? Well, let's find out in a moment. Before we go ahead and start sauteing, John, let's go over here to this side. If you're on the side where you want to try and break up the broccoli, it's a little bit harder for you to chew, a little bit harder for you to eat. One of the things that you can do is you can actually blend your broccoli. Not down to make a smoothie, but blending it enough so that you can use it in a saute, or you can even use it on other foods, right? So what we're going to do now is we're just going to simulate, if we were about to saute this, we're going to take our florets and we're going to put them in here. If, we all have a different kind or different size blender. I'm using the mini size here, the Ninja. You keep your half. I'm just going to do my half. And so now I've got most of the florets in here. I'm going to break this off here. And you usually, max out depending what size your blender is. You can fill it up because we're not trying to grind it down to a flour. We're just trying to break it up. Now, once we've broken it down to that level, or if you're breaking it down to this level, I'm going to show you the secret to making sure that you get the most out of the broccoli. So now we're going to go ahead and just blend this a little bit. And I'm just pulsing it. So we're really not blending it, so we're just going to pulse it. Okay. So now it almost has the appearance of like if you've ever made breadcrumbs or something like that. This is about the texture that we want. We're going to put this out here. And this is great. Now this is great for a lot of reasons, not just because it's broccoli, but it's great because now it's been broken down. And basically what has happened is that you simulated chewing. Why is that so cool? Let me just chew up, quote unquote, this last piece. This is stalk. There was a study that was done this year, recently, 2020, and one of the things that they discovered was that they took 3 different samples of broccoli. They took a raw sample, and then they took a piece, or like Jael has broken up over here, and they immediately sauteed it. And then with the 3rd sample, they chopped it up like this or that, and they let it sit for 90 minutes. 90 minutes, that's a long time. That's about an hour and a half. And then after they've let it sit, they went about the process of sauteing it in the pan for only 3 to 4 minutes, no more than that, because that kills off the enzyme. What they found, Jael, is that the group that just ate the raw broccoli, the group that ate the sauteed broccoli, and the group that took the broccoli that had been chopped up, let it sit for an hour and a half, and then sauteed it for no more than 4 minutes, that third group actually tripled the amount of enzyme activity in the broccoli that helps the liver, that fights cancer. So basically what we've done here is we've shown the two ways to make the broccoli. Jael's broken it up. We're going to pretend we put our oil in. Jael, you start to saute it. You start to just put all the flours, put everything in there. You saute for 4 minutes, 3 or 4 minutes, no more than that. After you've let it set for an hour and a half. If you're in a situation, like I said, where you may have indigestion, you're not a huge fan of the broccoli flavor, but you want the benefits, you can take a blender and you can pulse it and make you up some broccoli breadcrumbs. We'll call them broccoli crumbs. This is not bread. Broccoli crumbs. And you can actually take this, you can saute it, or if you have other foods, after you've let it set for an hour and a half, you can use it as like a seasoning. You can put it in your salad. You can put it in your soup. Again, it's already broken down. You've let it set for that hour and a half, but you've got that triple enzyme activity that you're able to get out of it. Now, the thing about it is, in that study, after the hour and a half, they actually sauteed it. So if you're not going to saute it, if you're just going to eat it raw, which is fine, once you've chopped it up, you can just put it right on your food. You can put it right in whatever you're eating, even if you don't saute it. So hopefully you've seen that these two options are available to you literally on the table. Whether you choose to saute it immediately, that's good, but what's better, letting it set for an hour and a half. And then once you've sauteed it, Jael's going to be our model, and she's going to show us how it's going to look. Obviously, it's going to be cooked down once you've sauteed it. But that's what you can do to try and work in more of these green leafy vegetables, but this one in particular. The only other vegetable that's kind of on par with that amount of anti-cancer enzyme in it is like a Brussels sprout or a cabbage. But the problem that we run into a lot of times when we're making our vegetables, especially when most people make broccoli or they make cabbage, they boil it. In fact, we've actually done recipes where we've shown you how to make a kale cabbage medley, for example. So what you're trying to get away from is just killing the vegetable, killing that enzyme, because that enzyme is what's going to kill the bad stuff in us. So rather than killing the enzyme, let's kill the bad stuff inside. And so hopefully today what we've shown you are a couple of ways that you can do that. We want to avoid the boiling. We want to try and go towards steaming or sauteing. And remember, that saute is only at the most for 4 minutes. One of the rules and habits that we like to have when we're sauteing is I won't turn the dial over medium. And I know it may take longer. I get a little impatient and anxious, but we do that so that we don't turn up the heat so high and cook it so long that it kills everything that's in the vegetable. So 2 options: breaking it up, letting it set for an hour and a half, or you can pulse it in a blender. You've got these beautiful broccoli crumbs that can go into anything that you're eating. You get one of those little one of those heads of broccoli every day. It's going to be a great addition to your family. It's going to be a great addition to your health regimen. So that's our Change Health for the day. Did you enjoy that, Jael? Able to break up the broccoli a little bit? The good is in the green. Another question people might have is, well, how do you know when it's done? Well, remember, you can eat this as it is right now. It's totally edible, totally raw. So I'm getting the enzyme activity now, but if I want flavor and the health benefit, the hour and a half. Wait an hour and a half, saute it, put it in your food, it would be great. The actual article to some of what we talked about today is on our blog at changeministry.org/Bailey blog. There are a couple articles there that explain what we talked about on a much deeper scientific level. We just wanted to illustrate it, how to put it into practice, how to put it into play every day so you can get that good stuff. So with that said, Jael, thank you so much for your help. Feel free to enjoy it. You can eat it raw, you can eat it sauteed. Doesn't matter what. Always eat your broccoli. Now for